Welcome back. You're watching Beyond World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Channa.
And I'm Hem Kaur Saroy. And on the show today, in the US, the massive LA protests continue, with the US Northern Command announcing that it has activated about 700 Marines to help protect federal personnel and property in LA area. And meanwhile, California has filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration, asking a judge to declare the call-up of National Guard troops in response to the protests unconstitutional. How things pan out going forward, that is something that remains to be seen. We'll explore this on the show today.
Also on World DNA, Iran and the US plan to hold the next round of nuclear talks, and these are scheduled to take place next Sunday in Muscat. According to Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghel, Trump said that Iran's insistence on enriching its uranium was a big impediment to this deal. We'll explore that as well right here on World DNA. Let's start with the headlines.
Ukraine says capital Kyiv and the port city of Odessa come under massive drone attacks from Russia. At least one person killed, 4 others injured in Odessa.
US President Trump orders active duty Marines into Los Angeles to quash the protests against immigration raids. A battalion of 700 Marines activated to join the National Guard troops already mobilized in the city.
Indian Ministry of External Affairs takes cognizance, says it is in touch with local authorities after Indian student handcuffed, pinned on the ground at a US airport before deportation to India.
Israel to begin deporting Greta Thunberg and other activists detained from a Gaza-bombed boat. Foreign Ministry says they will be deported to their home countries in the coming hours.
At least 4 crew members missing and 2 others injured after a Singapore-flagged container ship on its way to Navi Mumbai catches fire on the Kerala coast. Joint rescue operation by the Indian Coast Guard and the Indian Navy saved the lives of 18 persons.
Launch of Axiom 4 mission that will carry India's second astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla to space postponed by a day due to bad weather. This is the 4th time the mission has been deferred.
US-China trade talks in London enter a second day with rare earths and export curbs in focus. President Trump calls the talks positive as both sides seek to ease tensions and avoid further supply chain shocks.
West Indies batter Nicholas Puran quits international cricket at the age of 29. The southpaw is Windies' leading run getter and most capped player in T20 internationals.
US President Donald Trump is sending active duty Marines into LA to quash protests against government immigration raids and deportations.
The US Northern Command confirmed that a battalion of 700 Marines had been activated to work with the more than 2,000 National Guard troops already mobilized in the city. Trump is also sending another 2,000 National Guard troops to the city, inviting a sharp reaction from the state's governor, Gavin Newsom.
Now, this deployment came as the fourth day of protests unfolded in LA. Demonstrators gathered outside a federal detention center where LA Police Department officers were forming containment lines seemingly aimed at separating demonstrators from federal agents.
There were scenes of levity as some protesters danced to a band playing music from a truck on the street. In some areas, workers were seen cleaning up torched cars set ablaze during the protests on Sunday. Stores were boarded up because of damage, and cleaners began to remove graffiti, which covered signages and buildings in downtown Los Angeles.
On Sunday, demonstrators took over streets in downtown LA, torching cars and looting stores in ugly scenes that saw law enforcement responding with tear gas and rubber bullets. Vandals had set fires and smashed windows, adding to the scenes of damage left after 5 Waymo self-driving cars were torched.
Meanwhile, the Los Angeles Police Department said that the department has not been formally notified that a Marine Infantry battalion will be arriving in the city. In a statement, Chief Jim McDonnell also suggested that 700 Marines showing up on the streets of Los Angeles would present a significant logistical and operational challenge.
California Governor Gavin Newsom slammed the move as deranged and un-American. In a social media post, Newsom wrote, I'm quoting here, US Marines have served honorably across multiple wars in defense of democracy. They should not be deployed on American soil, facing their own countrymen to fulfill the deranged fantasy of a dictatorial president.
Earlier, when asked about the possibility of Marine deployment in Los Angeles, President Donald Trump had said that he would deploy additional troops to California if necessary.
We'll see what happens. I mean, I think we have it very well under control. I think it would have been a very bad situation. It was heading in the wrong direction. It's now heading in the right direction.
Trump also suggested that he would support an arrest of Newsom. Tom Homan, the administration's border czar, threatened to arrest anyone who obstructs immigration enforcement efforts in the state, including Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass. The president was asked what crime has Governor Newsom committed, and he did not have a clear answer to that.
I think his primary crime is running for governor because he's done such a bad job. What he's done to that state is like what Biden did to this country. And that's pretty bad. It's the wrong philosophy. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants, many of them prisoners. They're taking up your health care. They're taking up your space in schools. They're taking up your hospital. And in many cases, they're criminals.
And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has also sent us a report as to what's happening. Let's listen to this now.
The Trump administration has deployed 700 Marines to Los Angeles, California to guard federal property, joining the 2,000 National Guard troops already on the ground. California Governor Gavin Newsom condemned the move as being quote-unquote provocative, accusing President Trump of fueling division. In the protests sparked by federal immigration crackdowns across the country and the arrest of a union leader, about 150 people have been arrested so far since Friday. Trump has labeled the protesters as insurrectionists, with some wondering whether or not he may invoke the 1807 Insurrection Act to deploy active duty military. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World as One.
Iran and the US, they're planning to hold the next round of nuclear talks next Sunday in Muscat.
This according to the Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghai. However, US President Donald Trump has said that the US will also hold fresh nuclear talks on Thursday, adding that Tehran's negotiations were tough and that a deal was not there yet. Speaking at an Invest America roundtable discussion, Trump said Iran's insistence on enriching uranium has a big impediment to the deal.
We have a meeting with Iran on Thursday, so we're going to wait till Thursday.
And what's
for
the
that
main
proposal.
impediment to getting a deal?
Well, they're just asking for things that you can't do. They don't want to give up what they have to give up. You know what that is. They seek enrichment. We can't have enrichment. We want just the opposite. And so far, they're not there. I hate to say that because the alternative is a very, very dire one, but they're not there. They have given us their thoughts on the deal, and I said, it's just not acceptable.
Trump also spoke to Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and said that he was trying to make a deal so that there's no destruction and death, adding that they would soon find out what Iran decides to do. According to the Israeli Prime Minister's office, Trump told Netanyahu that he plans to hold another round of talks with Iran over the weekend.
So we're trying to make a deal so that there's no destruction and death. And we've told them that, and I've told them that, and I hope that's the way it works out. But it might not work out that way. We'll soon find out. Yep.
Meanwhile, Iran's Supreme National Security Council has warned Israel that it has the intelligence to strike Israeli nuclear facilities in response to an attack by Israel.
It also said that Iran would respond in a precisely proportional manner to any Israeli attack on its military or economic infrastructure. Just a day before, Iranian media outlets had claimed that Tehran was in possession of sensitive and strategic intelligence about Israel's undeclared nuclear facilities.
Iran's warning comes amidst Israel's repeated threats of bombing Iranian nuclear facilities. However, an Axios report had recently suggested that Israeli officials had assured the US that it won't launch an attack on Iran unless Trump's nuclear talks fail.
The Gaza Civil Defense Agency says at least 10 people have been killed and more than 30 have been wounded in firing by Israeli troops at people trying to enter food distribution centers.
The Israeli military has acknowledged that it had fired warning shots during incidents near food centers. According to the Gaza agency, Israeli forces fired several times at people at the Al-Alam roundabout, close to the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation distribution center at Rafah. 6 Palestinians heading for the aid center were killed in one incident and 4 more about 8 hours later.
The Israeli military says that several individuals attempted to approach the IDF troops operating in the Rafah area, posing a threat to the troops, who fired warning shots to distance the individuals. At another GHF center south of Gaza City, 31 people were wounded by Israeli gunfire in a separate incident. And the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry says that at least 54,880 people have now been killed in this territory of Gaza since the start of the war in 2023.
Furthermore, Israeli Foreign Ministry says activists from a Gaza-bound humanitarian aid boat that it intercepted have arrived at the Ben Gurion airport to depart from Israel and return to their home countries. Those who refuse to sign deportation documents and leave Israel will be brought before a judicial authority.
Earlier, the British-flagged yacht Madeleine, which is operated by the pro-Palestinian Freedom Flotilla Coalition (FFC), reached Israel's Ashdod port after being intercepted by Israeli forces, preventing the activists on board, including Swedish campaigner Greta Thunberg, from reaching the blockaded Palestinian territory.
The Israeli Foreign Ministry released the first images of Greta Thunberg at the port of Ashdod following the interception of the boat about 185 kilometers west of the coast of Gaza. The boat was aiming to deliver a symbolic amount of aid to Gaza and raise international awareness of the humanitarian crisis there.
In Paris, thousands of protesters gathered in Republic after Israel's detention of 12 activists on board the boat. Demonstrators waved flags and signs and chanted slogans in support of the Palestinians.
French President Emmanuel Macron described Israel's blockage of humanitarian aid a disgrace and called for the repatriation of the 6 French nationals aboard the aid boat.
France is vigilant and stands by all its citizens when they are in danger. Therefore, we have obviously conveyed all the messages to ensure protection for our citizens, that the consular protection they are entitled to is provided, and that, as soon as they themselves have signed the authorizations, they can return to French soil.
Macron also called for a ceasefire and the lifting of the humanitarian blockade in Gaza. He said he has spoken to US President Trump and the Emir of Qatar, Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, and this is about efforts for a ceasefire and freeing the remaining hostages.
Now, after 20 months of war, Gaza is now facing an unprecedented challenge, and that's waste management.
Gaza's waste system is under crisis and endangering the lives of those who stay there. Mounds of landfills are remaining deposited and unattended as the city's primary dump yard, located in the eastern part of the strip, remains inaccessible.
Gaza residents report unpleasant smells and an overwhelming presence of mosquitoes and flies, which are contributing to the growing incidences of illness, especially among children.
Regarding
the waste, it has affected us in every way. Whether it's the strange mosquitoes whose bites leave marks on our faces or the unbearable stench. We can't even walk here because of how disgusting the scene is. I don't know what to say. The situation is truly terrible.
What's further worsening the crisis is a halted transportation system, as Israelis have imposed a fuel blockade as well. Hundreds of thousands of tons of solid waste have accumulated in the streets as cleanup efforts are underway. International and local organizations are now beginning to use one of Gaza City's main markets, the Firas market, as a central waste disposal site.
UNDP inspections have also revealed that at least 1,700 tons of waste is generated daily in the strip, and some of the heaps of garbage piling up to 7 meters. More than 200,000 cubic meters of waste remains dumped there.
We are in Firas Market in the city center of Gaza City. Behind me is a huge mountain of waste, of garbage, collected since the beginning of the war. Initially it was a very small garbage area. Now it is more than 7 meters. And as of today, we have 200,000 cubic meters of waste here. This is not acceptable. It's not acceptable for the city, for the people who is living here, families, kids, shops.
The UNDP is currently leading large-scale efforts to manage solid waste. It is working with the wash cluster and deploying trucks and heavy equipment to remove waste. The goal to clean the streets, reduce the burden on displaced communities and help prevent the spread of diseases remains underway. And let's bring you updates from the Russia-Ukraine front. There's no stopping the Russians. Ukrainian Air Force says that Russia has launched 479 drones against Ukraine in the biggest overnight drone bombardment of the 3-year war.
And as Russia continues to step up its drone and missile attacks on Ukraine, there's a new headache for Kyiv. Trump administration is now diverting key anti-missile defense systems from Ukraine. And our next story explains why this leaves Ukraine vulnerable in one of its darkest hours.
Russian air forces unleashed a horrific wave of aerial bombardment last week. More than 500 Shahid drones, cruise missiles, Iskander-M ballistic missiles and other heavy weapons. From Kharkiv to Sumy, from Kiev to Kherson, no region was spared. Explosions littered the night, knocking out power, destroying houses and military installations. Kiev says civilian casualties are soaring.
There was an explosion and everything started falling off. Nearby, a girl was blocked in the apartment and was calling for help. The fire broke up. We were trying to put it out ourselves with our buckets, together with our neighbors.
Very bad, very bad. I was so scared, terribly scared. I jumped up. Luckily, since the war began, I had taped the window with duct tape. The glass, the shards didn't get into the room.
But Ukraine's defenders are running out. Ukrainian air defense systems are desperately running low on ammunition. Now a critical shipment of 20,000 anti-drone missiles was abruptly rerouted to American forces to West Asia. A big setback for Ukrainian military. Zelensky has been pleading for urgent help from his allies. Trump's decision to divert missiles, including laser-guided APKWS rockets, crucial for downing drones, is a devastating blow. As Putin hovers above Ukraine in his revenge campaign, Kiev's skies have never been more dangerous. As bombs keep falling and the drone swarms intensify, Kiev prepares for what may be its darkest hour. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Now, Egypt is racing to build a futuristic new capital city in a desert.
This is with Chinese financing and engineering muscle. The project is reshaping Egypt's ambitions and geopolitical alignments. Rising out of the sands, Egypt's new administrative capital is a marvel in the making, smart, green and high-tech. The estimated $59 billion project aims to decongest the current capital city of Cairo and symbolize a bold new era for the country.
Now, located approximately 45 kilometers east of Cairo, this mega project is heavily backed by the Chinese state firm, the China State Construction Engineering Corporation.
The city will span 700 square kilometers. Its centerpiece will be the 385-meter iconic tower, now the tallest building in Africa. The city will house Egypt's new presidential palace, parliament and government ministries. It will also feature 10 office towers, 5 residential skyscrapers and 4 hotels.
This project is central to President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's Vision 2030, Egypt's blueprint for modernization. It is designed to house 6.5 million people and run on solar power, smart grids and high-speed trains. A capital city typically serves as the center of governance and is symbolic of national identity. It usually hosts the executive, legislative and judicial branches, along with being a cultural or economic hub. An administrative capital, on the other hand, is where the day-to-day functions of the government are carried out. This is a separate city from the official or historic capital.
China's involvement has raised eyebrows in the West, but for Egypt, it's a lifeline, a partnership that brings capital, tech and speed. Beijing, in turn, gets strategic influence at the gateway to Africa and the strategic Suez Canal.
The city's first phase is nearing completion, with government employees already beginning the move. As cranes keep rising and sand keeps shifting, Egypt, with help, bets big on its desert dream. And with that, it's time now for a short break.
Don't go anywhere. This is World DNA. When we come back, the launch of Axiom 4 mission that will carry India's second astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla to space, postponed by a day due to bad weather. We'll bring you all the details on that.
Former India captain Mahendra Singh Dhoni has been inducted into the ICC Hall of Fame. More details on the other side. Stay tuned.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching World DNA with him and I'm Shivan. Let's start with the headlines.
US arrests third Chinese national for allegedly smuggling biological materials. FBI Director Kash Patel says PhD student from Wuhan charged and arrested from Detroit.
Ukraine says capital Kiev and the port city of Odessa have come under massive drone attacks from Russia. At least one person killed and 4 others injured in Odessa.
US President Donald Trump orders active duty Marines into LA to quash protests against immigration raids. 2,000 more National Guards to already mobilized in the city.
Israel to begin deporting Greta Thunberg and other activists detained from a Gaza-bound boat. Foreign Ministry says they will be deported to their home countries in the coming hours.
Indian Coast Guard and Navy save 18 crew members after a Singapore flagged container ship catches fire off the Kerala coast. At least 4 crew members missing.
US-China trade talks in London enter a second day with rare earths and export curbs in focus. President Trump calls the talks positive but said that China's not easy to deal with.
West Indies batter Nicholas Pooran quits international cricket at the age of 29. The Southpaw is West Indies' leading run-getter and most capped player in T20 internationals.
And India is all set to take its space exploration journey a notch above. Astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla is ready to embark on a 14-day mission to the International Space Station.
Shukla, as he pilots the Axiom 4 mission, will be marking an Indian astronaut's return to space after 41 years and will be accompanied by mission commander Peggy Whitson, along with 2 other astronauts from Hungary and Poland. The 4 astronauts will blast off in a SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. The launch will take place on the 11th of June at 5:30 p.m. Indian time from America's Kennedy Space Center.
Now, the mission, which was earlier set to take off on the 10th of June, was postponed by a day due to weather conditions. As the wait for the ambitious mission continues, let's deep dive into Shubhanshu Shukla's path to space. Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, a pilot in the Indian Air Force, will soon become the first Indian to travel to the ISS live. Well, he will be living and working there as well in zero gravity. In 2019, Shukla received a call from ISRO, following which he embarked on rigorous training at the Yuri Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center in Star City, Moscow, Russia. He also undertook training at the ISRO's center in Bengaluru.
Shukla was commissioned into the Indian Air Force's fighter wing in June 2006. Following his exceptional contribution, Shukla ascended to the rank of Group Captain in March 2024 as a combat leader and seasoned test pilot. He boasts an impressive 2,000 hours of flight experience across various aircraft, including the Su-30 MKI, the MiG-21, MiG-29, Jaguar, Hawk, Dornier and the AN-32.
The International Human Spaceflight mission by US-based space tech company Axiom Space is helmed by veteran NASA astronaut Peggy Whitson. Axiom 4 is a private mission, which means each country pays to get their man on board. The countries pay a fee for training and overall travel cost. In India's case, the government paid around $64 million or 550 crore rupees for Shukla's training and flight. Shukla will be the second Indian in space after Rakesh Sharma.
The Axiom 4 mission has lined up 60 experiments to be conducted by the 4-member crew on board the ISS. In space, each astronaut will carry out diverse science experiments from their respective nations. From space, they will also be making video calls to students from their respective nations.
Shubhanshu Shukla has also been picked up as one of the 4 astronauts for the Indian Space Research Organization's historic Gaganyaan mission, India's inaugural human space flight. Shukla's experience on the Axiom Mission 4 would be very well utilized on the ISRO mission, which is planned for 2027.
Now, cargo ship identified as the One High 503 caught fire off Kerala's Kozhikode coast.
The vessel, sailing under the flag of Singapore, was carrying containers from Colombo to Mumbai. The fire broke out approximately 78 nautical miles west of Baipur near Kozhikode. The cargo ship was carrying 650 containers when the blaze erupted. At least 4 out of 22 crew members are said to be missing, and 2 others have suffered serious injuries.
Early reports say 18 of the crew members were forced to abandon ship, with several of them leaping into the sea to escape the flames. The fire also led to the loss of nearly 50 containers into the sea.
Now, the Indian Coast Guard and the Indian Navy swiftly launched a joint rescue operation. INS Surat and a Dornier aircraft were immediately deployed by the Indian Navy to render necessary assistance. This incident comes just weeks after another maritime mishap involving the Liberian container ship MSC Elsa 3, which sank off the Kerala coast on the 23rd of May.
Now, the Indian Embassy in New York said that it is in touch with local authorities after a disturbing video of an Indian student being handcuffed and pinned to the ground by US authorities at New York Airport in New Jersey went viral.
Now, this disturbing video shared by Indian-American entrepreneur Kunal Jain shows the visibly distressed student crying while being restrained on the airport floor. He claimed that the incident occurred on the 7th of June when the student was scheduled to board a flight but was left behind and later deported. Taking stock of the situation, the Indian Embassy in New York said that they are in touch with the local authorities, figuring out what is actually going on. In a post on social media, it said the consulate remains ever committed for the welfare of Indian nationals. The video has sparked concern over the treatment of Indians abroad, with many demanding official intervention from the Indian government. A new research claims vegetarians may be more power-hungry and rebellious than meat eaters.
Now, this is a new study in the UK that challenged old stereotypes about vegetarians being peaceful and low-key. It included over 3,800 participants from the US and Poland.
Well, it found that vegetarians tend to be less focused on tradition, conformity and benevolence than meat eaters. Instead, they are more likely to value achievement, incentives and power. The study shows that the differences were modest but meaningful, with vegetarians showing a greater leaning towards traits often viewed as manly. Now, in contrast, meat eaters placed more emphasis on security, tradition and kindness. The results suggest that even though vegetarians may be more sensitive to the pain and suffering of animals and may be more aware of threats to the environment than non-vegetarians, this sensitivity and awareness do not necessarily reflect the basic human value of benevolence. The study suggests that even small differences in values can add up to big effects over time. Now, to sum it up, the study found that vegetarians on average have a greater desire to wield power than their meat-eating counterparts, and the sensitivity and awareness in vegetarians do not necessarily reflect basic human value. Statistics indicate that only 6% of adults in the UK identify as vegetarian and 3% as vegan, but these numbers are growing. Of course, this is a limited study with these findings.
Now, Tesla stock downgrades from a couple of brokerages on Monday highlight Wall Street's growing fear about the EV makers' future after last week's spat between Musk and Trump, of course.
Argus Research and Baird downgraded Tesla's stock to a hold recommendation from buy before Musk and Trump's fallout on Thursday. The brokerages downgraded Tesla's stock due to concerns about the company's outlook following the breakup in Musk and Trump's bromance. The outlook cut further solidifies Tesla's status as an analyst's least favorite mega cap stock. Tesla's shares have fallen about 27% in 2025. That decline so far this year makes the EV maker the weakest performer of the so-called Magnificent Seven stocks.
Tesla shares had rallied in the wake of Trump's re-election, which Musk vigorously supported, but they are down almost 40% of their peak in December. Much of the stock's recent decline came after the high-profile blow-up between Musk and Trump last week. The disagreements are perceived as a major drag on Tesla's share price, even as Musk later indicated that he was willing to make amends. Wall Street analysts called Trump-Musk spat a disaster for embattled Tesla.
Analysts at Argus Research said, looking ahead, we are concerned that the war of words between Donald Trump and Elon Musk, along with expiration of EV credits, could further weaken demand for new Teslas. Now, that view was echoed by Baird, which cut the stock to neutral from outperform. Baird said Musk's comments about Tesla's robo-taxi program are a bit too optimistic, and we believe this excitement has been priced into shares.
Tesla's robo-taxi service focuses on driverless vehicles and artificial intelligence and scheduled to launch in Austin this week. The EV maker has the worst analyst recommendation ratio, the market's biggest companies. Fewer than half of the analysts surveyed by Bloomberg recommended buy the shares. Still, there are 30 buy ratings for the stock, but there are also 18 hold ratings and 13 sell recommendations. Even within the positive bets, analysts don't seem to be expecting a price recovery anytime soon.
And 5 years after remote work reshaped the world, Europe's biggest banks are calling employees back to the office.
There is a twist though. Many don't have enough desks. From London to Madrid, here's why the return to work is creating a new space crunch. Take a look.
Five years after the pandemic sent millions home to work remotely, banks across Europe are sounding a clear message: come back to the office. But there's a problem. Many of them don't have enough desks. Take HSBC. The bank had plans to downsize its London headquarters, moving from its massive Canary Wharf building to a smaller one in the city of London. But now, executives fear a shortfall of up to 7,700 desks. So they are scrambling now in talks to lease more space at 40 Bank Street in Canary Wharf, a move that contradicts earlier cost-cutting strategies. JP Morgan Chase is expanding in both the UK and Paris. In London, they are taking over part of the old Credit Suisse headquarters to handle overflow. In Spain, BBVA is running out of room too, renting another floor to support a fast-growing investment banking team in London and planning to double office space to about 50,000 square feet. During the pandemic, banks celebrated remote work. Many slashed costs by shrinking their real estate footprint. ING, for instance, now uses 30% less space globally than in 2020. Commerce Bank is aiming to cut office space by half in Frankfurt by 2028. Deutsche Bank slashed its London footprint from 21 buildings to just 4, but it's now eyeing 250,000 square feet of new space to meet increasing demand. Here's the twist. Many of these new offices are not just smaller, they're also roomier. Why? To attract reluctant workers, companies are also adding cafes, gyms, and wider desk layouts. That means more square footage per person and higher real estate expenses. Despite earlier cost savings, banks are now spending more again, even as hybrid work continues. For employees, the return brings added commuting costs, childcare, logistics, and in some cases, less flexibility. At Deutsche Bank, for example, staff can no longer work from home on both Mondays and Fridays. Some are frustrated, feeling squeezed between corporate mandates and personal balance. For companies, there's more than cost at stake. Being back in the office helps reduce cybersecurity risks and encourages mentorship, which is crucial in high-stakes roles like trading and investment banking. Across Europe, some cities still struggle with vacant offices, but in London, demand is surging and developers once reluctant to build are now scrambling to catch up. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink says he cannot find space for his growing team. One cheeky landlord even placed a banner outside his office reading, "Hey Larry, call us maybe." From Paris to Frankfurt to London, the office is back, but fitting everyone in is the new challenge. The great remote work experiment is not over, but for now, desks are filling up again. Whether that's good news depends on whether you've actually got a desk to return to. We'll report WION World is One.
And Bill Atkinson, the man who played a key role in the development of the original Apple Macintosh computer, has died of pancreatic cancer, aged 74.
Atkinson passed away at his home in Portola Valley in San Francisco Bay Area. Apple CEO Tim Cook took to social media to condole Atkinson's death. Atkinson was recruited to Apple in 1978 as the company's 51st employee. At the time, Atkinson was studying neurobiology and writing programs to render 3D imagery at the University of Washington. However, he was quickly reeled in by Apple co-founder Steve Jobs to join the company. Atkinson is popularly known for programming Quick Draw, a technology to draw objects on a screen. Quick Draw became a foundational software layer in both Macintosh and Lisa computers developed by Apple. Atkinson is also credited with inventing the double-click gesture, which allows users to open files, folders, and applications. His other landmark invention is the menu bar, an element found on all modern computers today. Among Atkinson's other notable creations are Mac Paint, a pioneering graphics program used on early Macintosh computers, and HyperCard software, a forerunner of the World Wide Web. After dedicating his 12 years to Apple, Atkinson left the company in 1990. He then joined his former Mac colleagues to form General Magic, a startup where they tried to create a personal intelligent communicator, which was essentially a precursor to the modern-day smartphone.
In his later years, Atkinson became a dedicated nature photographer. The legendary engineer is survived by his wife, 2 daughters, 2 stepchildren, 6 siblings, and a dog.
And former Indian cricket captain Mahendra Singh Dhoni has been inducted into the ICC Hall of Fame.
He is one of the 7 cricketers who have been recognized for the contribution to sport by the global cricket body. Dhoni's international career spanned 14 illustrious years. Debuting as a flamboyant wicketkeeper with long hair, he evolved into one of the sharpest minds in world cricket and remains the only captain to win all 3 ICC white ball trophies, the 50-over World Cup, the T20 World Cup and the Champions Trophy. Under his leadership, India also rose to number 1 in the ICC Test ranking in the late 2000s. Individually, Dhoni played 350 ODIs, 90 Test matches and 98 T20Is for India, scoring over 17